This is an art museum. It's where paintings go. And this is jazz. It was invented over 200 years ago in the 1800s. Oh, wait a minute. That's the wrong jazz. This is Jazz, who's slightly less old. She's my friend, the annoying person who used to sit behind and across from me at work before we both got laid off. And more importantly, a really talented illustrator and painter. Recently, I got to visit her house for the first time. I got her cookies as a housewarming gift. She showed me around. I mean, this is nice. You have a lot of space too, which is like, especially the backyard. The backyard is like insane. MTV, welcome to my crib. No, I mean, the stove being in the living room is literally just like the Asian experience, you know? And gave me these paintings. While I think they're pretty cool, she lacks confidence. So here's the plan. I'm gonna reach out to not only every single art museum here in LA, but some of the most well-known and respected art museums around the world to see if any of them would be interested in exhibiting either of these pieces to hopefully boost their confidence. I mean, if this, or even this can make it, I mean, surely these can too, right? First, I'd need some better photos though. So the next day, I got to work. I've successfully managed to bring them onto the roof, but it's super windy. Oh, fuck, no. Wind is going kind of crazy. Hopefully it doesn't get damaged. Wind is being a little crazy right now. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quickly take some of the photos. After dragging the paintings onto the roof, fighting winds that were hell-bent on knocking them down over and over and over again, as I tried to get some high-res photos, I saw this. So I can see the Pacific Palisades wildfire from my roof, which is kind of crazy. Holy shit. Later that night, another wildfire would break out, this time on the complete opposite side of LA in Altadena. Since I'd literally just been there the night before to visit Jazz, I immediately texted her. I didn't hear back though. The next morning, as I was looking out from the roof of my apartment, only to see a thick black cloud of smoke covering the sun and sky in every single direction, I got this text from her. She lost her home. She also sent me photos showing the aftermath of the wildfire on her home, and I mean, really, there's nothing left. Given that she's still looking for work, this is even more devastating. So, determined to help, I thought, instead of just reaching out to them to try and get them exhibited, what if I also asked if they'd be interested in potentially auctioning off either of the pieces to help raise money to help her rebuild and restart her life? So using the photos I'd edited and taken a few days back, I started DMing every single museum I'd planned to initially reach out to, from the Getty Center to LACMA, the Broad, MoCA, the Marciano Art Foundation, the Louvre in Paris, the Met in New York, the British Museum in London, the Vatican Museums in Vatican City, and Uffizi Gallery in Florence, Italy. I also fired off a more formal email to every single museum to hopefully both increase the odds of it getting seen and of potentially getting a response. After waiting a few days to see if any of them would get back to me, I saw this in my inbox. A single response. And ironically enough, it was from the one art museum I jokingly name dropped that I'd get both the paintings into when I was visiting Jazz the other day. Yeah, maybe I'll be like a first-rate art dealer, honestly. These will end up somehow, some way, I'm gonna have these end up in the Louvre. Naturally, I was pretty excited. So I opened up the email, and here's what Clementine had to say. Thank you for your message. The Muséum du Louvre, there's that Musée. Musée du Louvre. I wanted to get a proper pronunciation, so I asked Google Home, and this is what happened. No, the Louvre Museum.
Le musée du Louvre.
Louvre Museum without the in front of it.
Musée en vrac sans le devant. Musée de l'amour en anglais.
The Louvre Museum in French, please.
Le musée du Louvre en français, s'il vous plaît.
Louvre Museum in French.
Love music in French.
Louvre Museum.
Musée en direct.
Louvre Museum.
Musée du Louvre.
Alright, we got it. Okay, I don't know how to say that, so the Louvre houses and displays collections of artworks dating from antiquity through to 1848. Exhibiting the work of contemporary artists is therefore not one of its primary missions. As you can probably tell, this meant that unless jazz was actually as old as jazz music itself, and painted these at or before the early 1800s, they weren't interested. Now, going into this, I knew it'd be a long shot, but to even have one of the many museums I reached out to clearly acknowledge and reply, let alone it being the most famous art museum in the world that probably gets thousands of messages a day, is nothing short of a win. While I was feeling a bit down that none of this had worked, that's when I got this text from her. It made me not only realize I was going about it the wrong way, even though everything I'd been doing was well-intentioned, but that I'm glad I still have the paintings, because at the very least, in her words, something was saved. For most people, this is probably where they'd give up. But for me, if there's a will, there's a way. So I did what I think any other sane person who's determined to get a certain result would do in my situation. I looked up the definition of a museum. Here's what it says. A museum is a building in which objects of historical, scientific, artistic, or cultural interest are stored and exhibited. Now, I don't know about you, but I live in an apartment. And the last I checked, that's a building. Just making sure I still live in a building. There seem to be walls around me, which is good. Looks like there might not be a roof. I'm just kidding, there is a roof, of course. The paintings, they're objects, and they're also pretty artistic from my point of view. And because they're the only two remaining paintings from Jazz, as a result of the worst wildfires in LA history, they do be of historical and cultural significance and interest. Since no other art museum wanted them, they're also being stored, and it's in my apartment. The only thing that's missing is they aren't being exhibited right now. So having confirmed that my apartment is indeed 95% of the way, I mean, that's just arbitrary at this point, I just made it up, but it sounds pretty accurate. If you were actually wondering, it's 85%. I didn't count any of the ores that don't satisfy the requirement, but if they did satisfy the requirement, I counted them. Of the way to being a museum, I decided I'm gonna start exhibiting them on my walls. Right behind me is the big painting that Jazz gave me. I'm about to put it up on the wall right now, and as you can see, it is a bit jank. I didn't want to mark the walls or anything, so I found this, and it actually looks pretty level, which is good. So what I think I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna keep it propped up on here, throw some command strips on the back, push it against the wall, and then just follow the instructions so that it kind of stays. You're not gonna believe this. I just realized I put it upside down, and it's kind of too late. I mean, as a paint connoisseur, collector, at this point, it's just my own creative interpretation of the piece at this point. The second painting, I've also confirmed that it is facing the right direction this time. That's good. The only issue is I only have 2 of these left. I think I'm gonna probably have to go buy some more, but I'm gonna stick these 2 on to the back of that on both sides for now. I got some more command strips this morning, and I'm gonna put both of these on either side, and then I'm gonna start sticking this one on the wall. After putting both paintings up and confirming that neither of them are gonna fall, this is what they both look like, exhibited in the art museum that is my apartment. Obviously, even though this video is mainly about Jazz, I've had friends of friends also lose everything, not to mention the tens of thousands of people who have been displaced or have lost their homes as a result of the wildfires. So if you'd like to help her or any of the victims here in LA, I'll leave links in the description for all the different donation options below for you guys to check out.